Actually, this topic that you're bringing up has gotten some feedback. Connor, the talk that I had with Connor was not the only one. And so several people have called and talked about this, and every time it seems like a better thing to do. The more likely that we have more videos out, then the more likely people will see it and whatnot. So, um, actually, I'm surprised for you to say that there are 10 watts in Germany. In a
Yeah, it
way, I'm
was.
surprised that there's 10 watts, but I didn't know about them.
Yeah.
And I think that that has to do with the language barrier. That in fact, in the English language, when people ask about it, it's really easy for me to Google a particular city and the word Wat or Thai and Buddhism and those kind of words and find all sorts of things.
I
Uh, it
just
would be
posted the list of the German ones.
oh, okay, so you got that off of Wikipedia.
Yeah, and then I checked, obviously. I got further and checked some out, and some do have websites, some don't. And basically, the thing I was looking for was all the ones that are in the Theravada tradition.
Right. We should be putting all of those into our database on our website so that people can find them really easy without having to do a lot of different Google searches. Right now, we have more than 100 U.S. watts uh, that are going to be put into database, and so we can put these 10 German places in also. Um, there has been some discussion about um, in a Western mentality, for instance, retreat centers in the West may not want their information in our database, but they're giving it out publicly anyway in the sense that they want people to know. But I know for sure that that's the case with the Asians. That everyone who gets into the real teachings of the Buddha and understand what is there, they want that information out and public. They want everyone who has any interest at all in knowing it, and so we should put all 10 of them in there. Now, this is what I would. There's several things to do. And that the first thing to say is that you should actually go and do an investigation. That you might, in fact, sort of make it a plan to go visit all 10 of them
Okay.
and gather up the various information, the kind of things that you hear, and whatnot like that. And since they're all Theravada, I don't know what country that they're from, but I would assume that if it's Thai, then they will know, someone there will know about Bhikkhu Buddhadasa.
Okay.
If they do respond positively to your inquiries about Bhikkhu Buddhadasa, then that's a good place for us then to uh, establish a stronger relationship with.
Hmm.
There has also been a Zoom call where Robert, who lives here in Thailand and knows the Thai systems very well, and I gave a long Zoom talk on etiquette and how to handle things. And that Zoom call actually has the letters ZM in it as the first rather than SK for Skype. And it's on our channel.
Okay.
So, so you can find it easily by just searching for ZM in our channel.
Okay.
Uh, And there's a certain amount of etiquette that needs to be done, but the easy way to understand that etiquette is do what other people there are doing instead of doing things the way that you see Westerners doing. For instance, if you see a door that has a lot of shoes in front of it, take your shoes off there and go in that door.
Yeah.
That that'll give you the idea. Basically, that's a point of culture, but it is really a valuable thing in the sense that if people take their shoes off before they go into a house, you don't track in the dirt off your shoes. That
Yeah,
when
it's
you take your shoes
pretty
off,
common here in Germany.
oh, I'm surprised because I was just about to mention that cold weather seems to be the issue of why people wear shoes in the house.
No, it's pretty common. You just take your shoes off and wait, let me show you. Get these shoes.
Yes, right. Sandals,
Yeah,
or those that can be easily taken off.
exactly.
That has been the culture here in Thailand forever, but well, not forever. Humans haven't worn shoes forever, but way back into the past. Uh, but but more Western footwear has made it onto the shelves and into the advertisements, and so it's really funny when the Thai people are wearing shoes when they're going into a business or into a house or into a Wat or something like that. That they're frustrated about having to take their shoes off because they can't just slip them off. They've got to sit down and untie them and things like that. Um, so, with that regard, now you know what kind of shoes to actually go to the Wat. If you
Uh,
wear shoes that are easy to take off, then it'll be easier to take off. And so you kind of get into the habit. The other thing that I noticed over time, which is just a side point, is that the Thai people are unconcerned about shoes. And I was because of ownership of property and all of that. And there was a Wat that I went to, and I come out, and the shoes were missing. And I go all
okay.
over the place looking for the shoes, and there they were, placed at a front door that was on the other side of the building. And they didn't walk there by themselves. But I hear people in the West complaining from time to time that their shoes are stolen when they go to the Wat. No, they're not stolen. They're just, let us say, used, and they're just they're at just another door. um, so the kind of etiquette that you will that you will have like that is something that is it's different in the West. Um, that would be a disastrous no-no for someone to steal a pair of shoes at a
Yeah.
Wat. But but in Thailand, yeah, it was a Thai Wat. So anyway, um, check them out
Okay.
and go visit and find out what um, services, and I'm not talking about Christian prayer services, but what kind of services that they offer for the German people
Okay.
in German language, as opposed to whatever Asian language. More than likely, these are Taiwans.
Yeah, there are obviously some. There's Wat Thai temple. Yes, some Thai Wats. Yeah, a lot like forest tradition, Thai temple of the Theravada Buddhism. Yeah, yeah.
Hmm. This is something that a lot of Westerners don't know, that there are so many Watts, and I didn't know that. In fact, Agnes and I were trying to figure out what was available in her area. She's in Sweden, and Germany is just next door, I think, to Sweden.
Yeah, it's close.
Yeah, so I should mention to her that there are 10 Theravada Watts. She's got her eye on a nunnery, a Watt that was actually out of the Achan Cha tradition, and they've got a whole um, thing built up in California. I think there's about 15 or 20 nuns uh, that are there.
Yeah, here's one as well, like a nun close of the Theravada tradition.
Oh, really? Oh, well, I shall
Yeah,
send that to Agnes then.
but I haven't looked into it because, oh, I don't want to share my screen. How do I stop it? I just wanted to send you a link.
Okay.
Name. This is just the name I found.
Abhidhamma Klaus. Now that's a word.
What? Why?
So, um, that's a really good point. To For Westerners, because so much of the Buddhism that is Western Buddhism is merely books that Westerners have read, and there's a Western influence within Western Buddhism that uh, can sometimes, let us say, be problematic, the culture itself. And so getting into and involved with the Asian culture, because especially Southeast Asian culture, like Laos, Cambodia, Thailand, Burma, Vietnam, they have been Buddhist as a culture for centuries.
Yeah.
And so many of the cultural things that you find there are actually some things that come out of Buddhism that has affected the culture so much. Though I have no evidence of it, in fact, the evidence that's physical and easy to see, um, it's still easy to miss. And that is that Buddhist cultures tend to uh, drift towards becoming a matriarchal society rather than a patriarchal society.
Okay.
Most The natural way or the normal way that societies become patriarchal is simply because of the hunter-gatherer times when the women gathered and the hunters were strong and they were out hunting and killing, and so they came home and they just ran the place, and so it's natural for it to be that way. But within a Buddhist culture, because the people are interested in the teachings of the Buddha, especially men. Um, there's actually a sutta. It's in the Digha Nikaya. It's number 31. In this sutta, it's advice to laymen.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the advices to laymen, because these are all some pretty heavy things, and this one seems to be a big one, and that is that the advice that the Buddha gives to laymen, including especially the word is householder, in the sense that a householder is not just a layman. That when we hear the word layman, that means that this guy is into a religion no matter what condition he's in. In the Pali, the word householder means that he's in the condition of holding a house no matter what religion he's in.
Ah, okay.
All right. So it does. So when I talk about householders or lay people, there's confusion with that because that's not even a concept within Buddhism.
Okay.
But the householders are the ones who are, let us say, wealthy enough that they've got to manage property, houses, they have a family, they probably got servants and all kinds of things like that. And what the Buddha would recommend to them then seems to be even more strenuous than what you would find in the West. Because if a guy is not a householder, then if he's really enthusiastic about the Buddha and the dispensations of the Buddha, and he doesn't own property, he might as well go ahead and join the Sangha,
Yeah.
right? So this issue now about how the householders are is that the Buddha recommends that they give all of their duties and all of the decision making to the wife and let her run the place, so that he has less and less and more and less and less to do and more time to do nothing. Well, if you have an entire area that go to a particular wat, and a particular monk will recommend this to the guys who come to his temple, then that community over a course of a generation or two is going to become matriarchal because all the women run everything. And that's exactly how it is here in Thailand. That if you go into a mom and pop shop where the wife and the husband are there, in the West, it will be the wife who is will be the sales merchant dealing with the customer, and the dad and the husband is the big boss that's got an office in the back. In
Yeah.
Thailand, that role will be actually reversed.
Okay.
That the man will come and deal with the customers while his wife is counting her money.
Yeah. Why not?
And so that's one of the things that you go into now. When feminism met Buddhism, they were all unhappy, especially about Thailand, because Thailand has never had a Meiji, never had a Bhikkhuni ordination system, and uh, the idea was is that the Buddha was the only one who could, the only man who could ordain women. That since that time, all of the women's ordination has had a woman. It turns out that that may not be the case, but that was what was the thought 25 years ago when all of this occurred. But what the Westerners who were all into feminism, thinking that Buddhism in particular and Thailand in general was chauvinistic, they didn't understand the culture. They didn't understand that, yeah, the men may run the Wat, but he doesn't run it if his wife tells him he can't go there right now. And that most of the Wats will have actually a Meiji area. That there's a
Okay.
huge number of houses at Wat Suan Mok that were built for, and in many cases by women, to house women there. Um, and so this is the kind of Buddhism that I know is the kind of Buddhism to where there's no reason to think that that women are not uh, appropriately dealt with because they seem by the Western mentality to be bound to men, to where in
Mm.
fact secretly it's the reverse. And so in that regard, what you want to do when you're at the Wat is to go introduce yourself to the old ladies that you will find there if there are any.
Okay.
Okay? Make friends with them. If you can make friends with the old ladies at the Wat, just being friendly and smile and introduce yourself and that kind of thing, that will gain you more than you believe. Definitely make friends with the old ladies at the Wat because they actually run the place. Which is fine for the guys because then they don't have to do anything. That yeah, and you see in religions in the West, a lot of the religion has to do with the collection plate and how much money you're going to get. So naturally, the preachers are involved with the business of the church. Guess what? In Thailand, the monks are not involved much with the business of the church other than to give some advice. But the actual decision making is done by the lay people, including when the place is open and who is open to.
Okay.
And within the lay community, the women will often make those kinds of decisions. For instance, in Seattle right now, Wat Atamayattarama, shortened down to Wat Atam is what they call it, is closed right now and won't allow any visitors into the buildings.
Yeah.
And that Achan Reed said he didn't have anything to do with that. He would really like Eric to move right in, but sorry, but the old ladies say that we're putting in quarantine. But Achan Reed then calls Achan Moon at a different Tai Wat on the other side of Seattle, and now Eric is staying there because their rules are different because the local people make the rules of the temple. And so this is all kinds of strange new stuff. You
Yeah.
would think that a head monk would be the one who could decide whether he's going to let someone come and visit or stay or whatnot. And that's not the case.
Okay. Interesting.
Interesting. It's, yes, it really is. And that's one of the reasons why I can fit into Thai culture is because I've been here long enough to figure all of that stuff out. That I've had to relearn and unlearn a lot of the Western mentality and a lot of the Western ways. And by the way, Thailand uh, has done one thing right, and that is that there is no coronavirus here, much at all. I think that they've had a total of 3,000 cases and a total now of 57 deaths.
Okay. Wow.
Wow is right. And they've just made a deal with AstraZeneca, which is the British firm, for the vaccines, and so Thailand will be getting vaccines fairly quickly.
Okay.
So they're on top of that game. Um, so anyway, I thought that I would share that bit of culture because when you go to the Wat, it will be kind of surprising to you. One of the surprises that Westerners have is how genuinely open and welcoming they are at the Thai Wats.
Okay.
That in fact, I will say this story. The very first thing that Achan Po said to me, the very first thing, and he was standing at the front door, the front gate of the Wat. He was there at the temple gate, standing when I rode up on my bicycle, and the first thing he said to me is, "Where have you been? I've been waiting for you."
That's nice.
Well, but it wasn't magical.
Yeah.
You see, he had been to another town up in Chumphon, and on the way back, and he was riding, and he saw me on the road. They passed by on the road, and he had the mental note that this guy down in the south here, this far away at this time of day on a bicycle, this far away from anything that has to do with tourism, didn't exist back then. And so he knew that I would be coming to watch Sono. How he knew that, I don't know, but he was firm enough in his idea that that's what I was on my way to, that he was standing in front of the gate waiting for me. And that's the kind of reception that I got there. That's one of the things that I can say about Wat Suan Mok is that I felt home there almost actually immediately because of this, not just this, but all of the other stuff, that they genuinely wanted me to be there.
Okay. Yeah, I checked, like on their site, they are saying they don't take foreigners. That's why I started looking in Europe, and then they are referencing to another Wat under Achan Chan or something like that.
Ajahn Chah,
Yeah, I think so.
Chah.
I guess, yeah, but
Okay,
I don't
that's a
know.
okay. That's a good place to go.
Okay.
Ajahn Chah. If they're saying that Westerners are not invited to come, some old ladies made that decision for some reason.
Connection
And
is 1 second. If you can hear me, it's I can't hear you. Connection is stuck.
yeah, I can hear you. You're moving.
Yeah, I can't hear you really, and you're not moving.
All right, so
Now it gets better.
all right.
I still can't see you, but I guess I can hear you now.
Yeah,
Yeah,
can you hear me now?
yeah.
Okay. All right. So is the screen still frozen now?
Okay, strange.
It's okay.
It's a bit laggy.
All right. Yeah, the internet here is good.
Yeah, here in Germany not. They are not so good with.
Yeah, I'm really surprised at some of the things that we've got. Even on this island, I've got fiber optics.
Yeah, and like Germany not. Like I live in a big town and then we don't have fiber.
So, um, go and see what you can find, and we can put the actually take your camera pictures of the places that you go. Now I think you're frozen. Aha. Now I
So I
hear you back.
just switched the wireless LAN. Now it should work.
Okay, and now I see you.
Yeah,
You
good,
were frozen
good.
here on my screen for a minute. Okay. So anyway, um, go go to the Watt, take your camera,
Okay.
and take some photos. Talk about Bhikkhu Buddhadasa, um, and that kind of thing. To make a connection with them. Ask them what services they have for in German language, and that sort of thing. And so that we can get that information into our database.
Okay, is there anything else? Because I heard you talk that when you were in a Wat in the US, the only thing you had to do was do lunch or something like that. And
Oh, okay, right.
there are some that have like a program. You get up at 6 and chant and then do this and do that and do and then you chant.
Some Watts are really into chanting.
Okay.
Some Watts are not at all into chanting, and I have lived in both. And even in the Wat where Achan Mahasamsak was actually, he was at least nationwide in the United States known for his chanting. And I lived with him, and he never required that I come in the morning
Okay.
at 4, 5, or 6 in the morning. He never. It's not ever a requirement, but it's valuable.
Okay. Yeah, I just thought maybe like if they have just such a strict schedule, it's not the real thing.
Well, um, words like strive and strict and that kind of thing is not part of Buddhist language. Words like restraint are, in the sense that every individual is on their own spiritual journey, and that the Wat is something like a toy box for that. Okay, so let's go back to primary school or kindergarten or preschool, daycare, that kind of thing,
Okay.
right? No one there. Some of them now in school that you're supposed to pay attention to the teacher, but in daycare or play school, the workers there provide the toys and let the child play with the toys the way that they want to.
Yeah.
All right. A Wat is not a school. It's more like a daycare center, except that it's with sleepovers.
Okay.
It's generally the Wats will put about as much authoritarian restrictions upon you as your average single by yourself alone walk in the woods. The woods are not going to
Okay.
require you to sit down under this tree for this long.
Okay. So it's like you either do it or you don't, or
It's up to you. And guess what? The folks who don't want to do it don't stay anyway. And so there was no problem coming, no problem staying, and no problem leaving.
okay. And so if you have questions, you just talk to these people and you just
Hmm.
connect,
Especially the guy,
just sit down or walk.
yeah, so you'll look for two things. One will be the monks who know German very well.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other one is to get to know the temple abbot. The word is
Okay.
Chow Wat. Chow Wat.
Okay.
The Chow Wat is the abbot. It's, in fact, the word Chow is a word in the Thai and the Pali that has to do with the something in charge, the biggest one here, or something like that. For instance, in Thai language, the name of the Buddha is Praputa Chow. He's the head Buddha, as opposed
Okay.
to the only Buddha. When in English in the West we talk about the Buddha. No,
Yeah.
in Thailand you got to reference him as Chow as the head Buddha. Okay, and so Chow Wat is the head man of the Wat, and Chow Pra is actually the head is the main river that comes down by through Bangkok.
Okay.
Okay, there's also a designation of Chow Kun, which is a designation of that would be basically the equivalent of in Catholicism they have cardinals, about 300 cardinals, right?
Okay.
And they're the ones who elect the Pope. They have a similar thing in Thailand with Chao Kun, about 300 to 500 well-known, very established teaching monks and who are very highly respected will get the designation of Chao Kun. So that's that word Chao. And the Chow Wat is the guy who's in charge of the Wat. I think I've taught you the word now because we've used it in so
Yeah.
many ways. And that will get you in if you ask for Chow Wat because they know that you know a little bit if you know who to ask for in Thai language.
Okay. Yeah, because I was looking into like Europe region because I checked out like with health insurance and all this. It's little more expensive than I thought, the Thailand thing. And I just found the name Wat Pananachat. I just sent you the link. Wat Pananachat.
You actually have a Wat in Germany named Wat
No, 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 no,
Pananachat?
no, no. This is one island that I found that
Yes, right. I know Wat
Watsuamok
Pananachat. Right.
is
Okay.
yeah, I
Uh-huh.
just couldn't pronounce it. That's why I sent you the link.
Okay. Yes, I know Wat Pananachat in Thailand,
And
but
then I'll try to get into contact with them to just, or do you happen to have anyone
they
who,
are overwhelmed.
okay,
That Wat was never designed to have the kind of attention that it's gotten worldwide.
Okay.
Okay, that's like having the guru that's too famous that you're the closest you can get to the guru is 30 or 40 feet because you've got a whole sea of people
Okay.
between you and the
Yeah.
teacher, right? Those are the kind of places to avoid, actually.
Okay. So do you happen to have any links or any places where I can get into contact, like maybe some in Europe, some in Thailand, to
Well, you've already found 10. I mean, that's at least 3 months worth of work right there. And by the time you visit all of those places, you'll have so much information about Thai Buddhism and Buddhism in Germany.
Okay.
You'll become the expert if you go visit them all. But nobody else knows. I bet they do know each other
Okay.
at the abbot level. All of the abbots know at least they have a network, so that if I want to find somebody at a particular Wat, I'll call Robert. Robert will call either Achan Tanut or Achan Reed and speak in Thai and find out any name of any abbot of any Wat in the United States within 3 or 4 phone calls.
Okay.
I'm sure that that's also true in Germany. However, here we are working really hard to find about anything about the Wats in Germany because we're not in their circuit yet.
Okay.
But I hope that we can plug this in because this is the whole idea of the Open Sangha network is for the Western Buddhists to get plugged in with the already plugged in Buddhism that's all over the place. That it's almost like that Western Buddhism is an orphan child.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
the Lao and the Cambodian, they know each other. And the Lao and the Thai, they know each other. And the Cambodian and the Thai, they know each other. In fact, Achan Mahasamsak is a Thai monk who is in charge of a Cambodian Wat. But if there is a Lao ordination, he will often be in that Lao ordination because he's the dude who knows all the ordination chants and everything just out by heart. And so this is the kind of connections that are there in the U.S. That the Westerners who live in the very cities and towns that these monks are in, and they don't know them and they don't think about them. When they think about Buddhism, they buy a book or go online and they look in English language and they don't understand that everything that they need is readily available to them. And here you've gone and found 10 places. The first thing you do is you call me.
Yeah, it's not like they're around the corner.
Oh, they're not close. Okay. All
Yeah,
right. Well, I
it's
can
like
understand that.
2 to
Yeah. So
3
take
hours ride for each
3 hours.
chapter.
My goodness. I didn't know Germany was that big. I thought you could cross the whole country twice in 3 hours.
I think it's like 11 or 12 hours from the bottom to the top.
What happened to the Autobahns? Man, if I was in Germany on an Autobahn, I'd at least have a 1200cc BMW motorbike, and I'd see how I could make that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if they're that far away, then you need to plan a bit
Yeah, exactly.
in
With
advance.
Corona at the moment and all of this.
That's actually I'm seeing is working an advantage in some ways because that gives us plenty of time. That there's no pressure for us to try to get all of this stuff together all at one time because so many of the places are closed.
Oh, yeah.
That in fact you might want to start calling around first to call
Yeah,
them all
just,
before you
yeah,
go to any of them.
send a mail or something like that.
Hmm. The problem with calling is that you have to talk with whoever answers on the phone.
Yeah.
If you go there, you can talk to any and everybody.
So just write a mail and check out if I can come or see, yeah, if it's a weekend. That's a good idea. But I'm still really interested in Thailand. So you said this Wat Chat is one of the places to avoid, but it's
Right?
one of the
Okay.
places that come up
But
all again, like in
all the
research.
time. Okay. Basically, here's the deal that was struck so many years ago between Ajahn Chah and Bhikkhu Buddhadasa was that Ajahn Chah, um, and it wasn't just between just those two, but this was actually, let us say, the top deal of the Thai Sangha, was that Ajahn Chah would be the one monk who would devote himself to opening Buddhism up to the Western community. And it's been somewhat successful because there's been probably 30 monks who have ordained under the Ajahn Chah tradition already,
Okay.
as opposed to with Wats and Mok, we can barely manage 10. But that was intentional. It was
Okay.
intentional that Ajahn Chah would be the one. However, at Wat Soen Mok, a lot residents has been living in and around Wat Soen Mok for nearly 30 years now.
Okay.
He's English. He speaks English. He's a very good friend of mine. And going and hanging out with him or going and living with Achan Mehta at Dam Kiem, going and staying at Deepa Bhawan with Achan Po, uh, doing, if you stay at Dam Kiem, you can spend some time volunteering at the International Dhamma Hermitage where they give retreats once a they're not doing any retreats now. Well, actually, they're doing them, but the attendance is down to about 10%.
Mm.
Instead of 120 people coming, they have a dozen. But
So there are obviously places to go if I find out all the visa stuff and
intentionally, there were places set up for Westerners right around here. That in
okay.
fact, one of the places that I should mention, besides the International Dhamma Hermitage, Deepa Bhawan, Dam Kiem, um, Wat Suan Mok, and in fact, at Wat Suan Mok, they would recommend these other places anyway. Then on this island, we have two retreat centers. One of them is less than 2 kilometers from here, and you could go and live there and hang out. There's also another one up at uh, Sea Tanu on this island that's run by Anthony Maxwell, who is a good friend of Achan Po.
Okay.
And the last but certainly not least is we got a place on for you here on the porch. And you come hang out in the woods with us here.
That sounds pretty nice.
So that's what we have right here in South Thailand that are
Nice.
all
Okay.
within doable distance.
Okay. Do you know anyone who came recently, like from the US, from the West, who've been through all the visa stuff and all the organizational thing, maybe who I can contact?
Actually, everything is topsy turvy, but in one thing, things are in your favor. And that is that one of the topsy turvy is about the fact that there's only a very few flights, that tourism has almost died in Thailand, and all the tourist industry is hoping for it to come back. That's why Thailand is already doing AstraZeneca's vaccination stuff. Um, what I have heard, but I don't think that they'll implement it, is that they're going to have vaccines set up at the airport. So any and everybody who comes into the airport, unless they can prove that they've already had the vaccine, they get vaccinated upon arrival.
Okay.
And then they still go into quarantine.
Yeah.
But because of the issue of the quarantine for travelers or tourists, they've extended the visa now to where it's actually quite easy to get 3 months and then two extra extensions so that
Mm-hmm.
you can stay here 9 months without
Okay.
any problems with visas at all.
Ah, okay.
That's the new visa. But the requirement is that you have to be in quarantine for 2 weeks.
Okay. So quarantine, maybe a vaccine, um, round about 9 months visa, and health insurance. That's the
Pardon?
basics. And health insurance. That's the basics to get done with, right? Because
I'm, I don't understand.
like
Say again.
all the Watts mentioned that you need health insurance, like that you need to have covered, I don't know, your health insurance has to cover $50,000 if something happens, so that they can take care of you. So that the Watt has some insurance that
What watch?
I can send you
The
afterwards the
the
names.
you mean the German watch?
I'm not sure. I'll send you the links afterwards.
I know that the insurance industry is trying to sell insurance to Westerners here in Thailand, but I'm absolutely convinced instantly that no Watt in Thailand is going to require a Westerner to have health insurance, because in Thailand there's a national health plan that people here go to the hospital too often because it's free.
Okay. Yes,
For,
it's
for
because
me,
some.
I have to pay full price, and for me, full price is for a doctor's visit and $50 for an X-ray. And so I can go to the doctor and have X-rays and get a whole pile of medicine and all of that for less than $100.
Okay. Okay.
And but I would imagine that it's possible that it would be the German places that would be saying for health insurance for those who stay there because
Could
they
be,
don't
yeah.
have
I'm not sure
the option.
which one these were. Um, I'll check them out and send you. Maybe it's interesting for the list as well.
Okay. Well, what that means then is that if these are German watch that are requiring health insurance, that means that they expect you to stay. And believe me, I think that health insurance annually is a whole lot cheaper than rent for a year.
Yeah. I think it's $120 each month here in Germany.
Okay. So, but I can understand why they would want health insurance because they do feel obligated for the health.
Yeah, I'll check these places out. I'm not sure if they were German. I'll check them out and see where Reds is.
That's what actually you could say that this is the actual intention of having the Sangha in the first place, was so that it was fairly easy for people to come up with the four requisites of basic housing, just adequate, basic food, just adequate, adequate clothing, and adequate medical attention. Well, 2,500 years ago, adequate medical attention was nothing but a bucket of cow's urine
Yeah.
as a disinfectant.
Okay.
It gets fermented,
Okay.
fermented cow's urine. And not only that, but the reason it gets fermented is because of yeast infections. That's where they
Okay.
get yeast from.
Hmm. Yeah, it's kind of advanced.
Okay. And so herbs and things like that, but medical care in the time of the Buddha was fairly rudimentary. Now it is so sophisticated, and because of that, so expensive. But generally, the monks in Thailand take, let us say, great pride in their noble lion's attitude that they can handle it and they're satisfied even while the body would be in a condition that the Westerners would have put you in an ambulance and carry you to the hospital.
Okay.
the Thai monks get very much like the guard at the on the bridge in the movie The Holy Grail. You know the Monty Python movie,
Oh yeah.
and the king chops his arm off, only a scratch. Cuts his other arm off. Ah, that's all right. Cuts his leg off, and now he leaves him a bloody stump. And then the king just goes across the bridge, and this guy's saying, "Come back here and fight like a man." Okay, that's generally the attitude of the Thai monks about medical help.
Okay.
That Achan Po actually had cataracts, and they
Cataracts.
gotten bad.
What's that?
Cataracts, the white stuff on the eyes, so that you go blind.
Okay.
What it is that cataracts are the cornea or the lens becomes milky white.
Ah, okay. Yeah.
And the old days they just cut the lens off, but now they've got surgical things to do.
Mm-hmm.
And it took us years to get Ajahn Po in to see a doctor for a medical procedure that didn't last but about an hour or so.
Okay.
That's just how they are. Bhikkhu Buddhadasa actually, when he was dying, refused the king of Thailand, because you know what kind of circles he went in if the king of Thailand is offering his own personal helicopter to take Bhikkhu Buddhadasa from South Thailand to the very best medical care they have in Bangkok. And Tanachan Bhikkhu Buddhadasa says, "No thanks. I'll die here happily. Thank you very much."
Okay. Yeah.
But I could appreciate that they would allow or that they would require at these Wats, if you've got German people moving in, that they would expect to have medical care up to the standards that were in Germany. And the answer to that is yeah, if you've got the medical insurance for it.
Okay.
Okay. So that'll give you the history of that. That's what that's all about. Is that medicine is one of the four requisites and is part of the deal. That if you come live at the temple, they'll do what they can for your health care. They feed
Okay.
you, they clothe you, they house you, and they don't give you a bunch of rules. They just give you an opportunity to become happy.
Okay. So Thailand is like just get a plane ticket and
Well, you have to get this special visa.
yeah. Okay. So visa. Yeah. Exactly. So visa and the plane ticket and then like or
If you go so far as to start shopping for plane tickets, give me a call and I'll give you an itinerary of how to get from the airport, whichever airport, to here.
yeah.
Because they're all,
I'll get to the point like this month. I have I have to
I
finish
think
my
there are 6 international airports in Thailand. 7.
okay.
7 international airports, which means that you can fly from Germany to uh, one of these international Thai airports without having to go and change planes in Bangkok.
Yeah. I think there are straight lines. Yeah.
That one of the ways for South Thailand is generally that flying into Malaysia
Okay.
and then coming from Malaysia from Kuala Lumpur or Penang up to Surat Thani. Surat Thani is the closest international airport. But
Okay.
also, Nakorn Sri Tamarat has an international airport. But the old way of doing it is the way that I know, and that is everybody flies into Bangkok, and then from Bangkok we take a boat bus combination overnight to come down to the islands.
Okay.
And that one of the buses stops right in front of Wat Suan Mok
Okay.
at about 4 in the morning. So yeah, you can get a bus from Bangkok and just get off right in front of Wat Suan Mok. But you got to make sure that you're telling the driver about it and give him 100 baht and say, "Please wake me up and get me off this thing at Wat Suan Mok," and he'll know because it's on the route.
So
So
there's less to plan than I thought. Like,
Yeah, there's not so much. Well, you need to plan, but I can give you all of the tools that you need to do that planning.
okay, so when I'm into that stage, I'll just give you a
Uh-huh.
call.
Right. And that tourism is the big thing in Thailand, which means that all of the kind of public transportation that you would hope for would be available to us. And now they're running empty. And so they really want you as a passenger.
Okay.
and and so there's Raja, there's the state, there's Lumpraya, all of them run bus boat combinations from Bangkok.
Okay, nice. So then I have that out of my mind, so there's nothing to do really until
Right.
I decide to do it. And meanwhile, I can use my weekends to check out German stuff.
Hmm.
Yeah, pretty nice.
Excellent. All right. Well, we'll finish this off
Yeah,
and go spend some time in those Watts. Call them first.
nice. One thing,
Find out which ones are open.
can you put this anonymously, like without my picture, on YouTube?
Uh, okay. Yeah, I'll do that now.
Okay, nice, good. Thank you.
We'll see you.